Hello, I'm Jeremy Rivera, your unscripted SEO podcast host. I'm here with Stephanie Long, who's going to introduce herself and tell us why we should trust her as an expert in SEO.
Hi, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me on here. I own Mrs. SEO. I've been doing SEO for almost 2 decades now. So I'm not going to tell you my age, but yeah, I've been doing it a long time. Also, I am building a vetted SEO marketplace called Junction Jack. Jeremy is in one of my communities, and there's a bunch of other people from my SEO communities who I know personally. So I don't need to vet them because I know that they do great SEO work. And then also, if you want to apply, I do vet you. So we have an interview. But I feel like this is definitely your high-end Fiverr Upwork that does not vet people. And SEO, is kind of like a black hole. You believe what you believe online unless somebody is good enough to really explain it to you. So I want this vetted marketplace for people to get the right experts. So you have to have experience, years of experience in SEO. I have to know you. I have to vet you. And I really want people to get the right SEO help and not all these bad actors I see out there. Been doing this a long time. Understand how AI works with SEO, but you got to have traditional SEO as your foundation because I see a lot of things out there that tell you, we'll get you right there into the AI tools, chat GPT #1. I'd like to know how to do that right away. So those are just some myths. I like to do myth busting, but that's a little about me.
I love it. I feel you on the pain point of SEO being kind of this mystery box.
Hmm.
And you never know whether you reach in and you're going to pull out a snake or you're going to pull out and find gold.
Right.
Um, because it really comes down to like the level of expertise.
Hmm.
An SEO expert who has, cut their teeth on multiple different industries at different times. But given the nature of digital marketing, social media channels, there's so much opportunity just to front, just
Hmm.
to put up a good facade and, throw up a website that looks professional, but it's not actually backed by real practices.
Right.
And half of the battle as an experienced SEO is either unwinding the damage that another SEO professional did,
Yeah.
or unraveling the negative perceptions around the process to convince the prospect to work with me as a freelance
Hmm.
person. Um, and then there's also a continual and growing knowledge gap for everybody
Yeah.
because the more that it stays the same, the more it changes and the more, and we just went through our what is it? Biannual SEO is dead moment. Every couple of years
I'm
we're
still
we're
on that.
zombified. Um, I think CEOs had it particularly hard this time. It seemed like it was totally different this time. But yeah, I personally feel that we're through that phase now. We're coming back to, oh, hey, we still have to do SEO. We still got to spend on this. What's been your understanding of the market on that side of things? Like, are CEOs just totally enamored of AI, or are they starting to become questioning of the unlimited potential that's being sold?
Yeah, so I started out at agency, and then I worked with large companies, and now I'm really about female founded woman owned businesses. So I work directly with the CEOs, CMOs. And funny enough that they are open to telling me, and I see it online too, people still think AI is going to do it for them. Because they can buy chat GPT for $20 a month. I'm definitely not $20 a month. So they're not seeing, because they can't see it, quote unquote, they don't see the value. They want to do ads. I also have a little bit of a media buying background, so I understand the ads, and you need to have SEO. While you're paying for the expert, you're paying in knowledge to Google and the AI tools. You're building your authority versus just putting it in someone's face. I don't click on ads. I have not clicked on ads for years. I only click on what I see when I search in AI tools or organically. So to your point, I think smaller organizations, solopreneurs are still struggling with why SEO. I need to just use the AI tools. And so I still see that a lot in that aspect. But I think that a lot of people just need the education. I feel like once I can talk to them, I can educate them. But there's such a vast pool of them that it's a lot. So from medium to small size solopreneurs, I think there's still a huge uh, educational piece to this.
What's been your experience in kind of the three roles that I see usually come up when it comes to SEO, which is, the freelancer consultant, the in-house resource, and then the SEO who's at the agency. What's the current interplay and your take on that trajectory as a career? We have kind of those three flavors
Mm-hmm.
of options. You learn
I've been them
SEO.
all too.
So what's that look like? What have you seen that looking like right now?
I'll give you a client that I just got as an example. They had an SEO agency. Like I said, I came from an agency background, so I have a lot of cleanup to do and I understand what they were doing. They weren't optimizing every page because at agencies, my experience is you pay per page. And they were not paying, for the whole website. And so he's coming to me. I was a referral. So I actually see more freelance. So it's just me at my company. I'm not an agency, anything. I'm seeing more people I think want to come to individuals because what I've been told, and I totally agree, you talk to me. You don't talk to the account executive, which is what happened when I worked at an agency. I never talked to the clients. I just sent my report to the account executive, and that was that. I know people value so much talking to me as the owner. I hear it, I believe it, and I want to be able to speak to any concerns they have versus somebody that doesn't know. So that's what I see, and I think it's going to keep going that way as people are looking for the authentic, human value in that. And I can say from the person that I just got, he never talked to anyone but his account executive. So he didn't understand anything because the SEO person was never on the calls and he didn't
Hmm.
understand the reports and the account executive didn't understand the reports. So I totally
Yes.
understand all of that. That's a long-winded way to say. I think I'm starting to see that it's probably going in the freelance solopreneur, such as myself. I guess you can call me a freelancer too, way.
I think that makes sense. I've worked half a dozen different agencies of different sizes, and I've fallen into that trap, that pit where, you know, the person managing the account, they don't actually know SEO,
Hmm.
and I can talk SEO, and they're like, "Wow, that makes sense." But current, like there's the mashing of gears of trying to communicate these things, and then you're like, "Okay, I guess I have a middleman system." So you kind of give up. You're like, "I hope they get it," and I, that's how they've set it up at this agency. It would take me 5 minutes to explain this to the client, but I guess I
Yes,
can't do that.
that's exactly what would happen to me. And I value being able to explain it. I want to expunge anyone's concerns. Why am I not paying these AI tools to optimize for SEO? Why am I paying you? So I think that's an important part. And I think the middleman, as we're talking account executive, usually they can't answer that really.
So it kind of comes down to some of the other conversations. I just talking with another member of the SEO community of Slack, talking to Martin McGarry. And we were kind of riffing on that really LLMs don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Humans are born with two things, holes and opinions.
Hmm.
And ChatGPT doesn't have either. They're just kind of built as the ultimate yes man. And if you
Very
go
true.
into those systems expecting, truth out of it, you're deceiving yourself.
Mhm.
I just saw a paper. I'll include the link in the show notes, but it showed that LLMs and AI tools have now been detected to intentionally lie as part. It's not even that they're hallucinating, it's they're choosing to lie unless you set up a secondary internal LLM process to quote unquote observe that behavior. They
Mm.
will invent and not hold themselves accountable to the original prompts on a consistent basis. So, if you have literal written scientific papers proving that the tool that you're using can lie to you, will lie to you,
Mhm.
and it's just making up information, you trusting it as a source of truth becomes suspect.
Absolutely. And I talk about that all the time. You need to verify. Well, I use them too for information, right? I mean, who doesn't really? If you don't, I think that's weird at this point. But you need to verify. Like, I click through the links. I actually ask, give me the data behind this. I am very suspect, absolutely, of these tools, but I love them at the same time. So I
Yes.
actually made a post about this. You need to verify this data, whatever you're searching for, because I wrote a whole post about how I clicked through every single link on a query I did, and they were all broken links. So where I don't even know if they're broken, where that came from. So to your point, they probably made it up, pulled a link off, did their crawl on the website and grabbed a link.
I,
So
I just I just saw a post from, I think it was Tim Sulo, or it might have been Patrick Stocks out of Ahrefs, that literally recommending, hey, check your 404s on your site, not because it's broken, but because it was imagineered by ChatGPT and they sent people to pages that don't exist on your site. Use that as reverse engineer. Hey, they thought that it was good enough to exist. You might as well add that resource to plug in the traffic that they're going to send to imaginary land.
exactly. And I don't think people verify that. And as obviously an SEO person, I'm all about that. You need to
Just to
verify
verify.
what you're seeing.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because as much as nearly every conversation on this podcast at some point dips into, I don't trust the machines. At the same time, the other half of the conversation is, here's the part where you can trust the machines.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I think it was, Spacebar Collective, Chris Tweeten, if you don't use these tools, SEO is not being replaced by AI, but your SEO job is being replaced by somebody who is properly using AI.
That's a very good, I like that. That just brought out, hopefully it'll come to me, but I heard another analogy similar and I really liked it. Um, it's absolutely true. And not that people can't be entry level. I think everyone can learn SEO. But I think that if you are hiring somebody that's entry level, let's say, um, you, I'd be concerned a little bit. I would want somebody that's an expert, to your point, to help with that so they can learn alongside you. I think in this day and age, when I learned SEO, almost 20 years ago, I was entry level, right? I
Yeah.
I think that was fine at that time. I don't think that's fine anymore. And I'm not discounting anyone that wants to learn. Like I said, I think you need to learn alongside someone that's been doing it for a long time and understands that I'm still about traditional SEO. Like, you have to have your bottom line. I made this post about, SEO is like the batter to your AI. Like, you have to have it like
Yeah.
together or you're going to fail. So you just need your traditional SEO knowledge, I think,
I think
is really.
it's funny because, you know, my friend Michael McDougall was just bringing up that a lot of the processes that we're doing through ChatGPT, they're
Mhm.
not new. They're just slightly expanded. Like
Mhm.
in 2008, I used Content Spinner to take the same sentence, and all it did was swap out different words in the one sentence
I can't remember what
because
I
we,
used, but yeah,
yeah,
so you're not writing duplicate content.
yeah, it wasn't. directly duplicate content because we had, 20 cities that this realtor wanted to rank in, but they didn't want to genuinely rewrite 20, locations
Yes.
slash city pages.
Mm-hmm.
So we used a content spinner to make unique content for it. That's, at the end of the day, these LLM tools can generate a lot of text,
They
but
hear, yeah.
you need to do it with a vision and a reason and genuine value. Just pumping out hundreds of thousands of pages, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for you after 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's only as good as the person using it, right? It's gonna have to guess if you don't tell it exactly what you want or as precise as you want. But you brought up, it reminded me of my agency job. We worked with dealers all over the United States, and they had so many, so many dealerships. And I maybe switched out, again, I was entry level. I maybe switched out like a couple words
Yeah.
to have it unique content. And that was unique. But
Yeah.
I do agree. I think I'm also a writer. That's my background. I love to write. So I feel like I get in writing blocks a lot, as I'm sure a lot of writers will say. And I think these chat tools definitely help me. Like I'm stuck. I need help, with some content, and that can help me like, get started or tweak something. So I like it for that for sure. Can you give me another word for this? Like I'm trying to say this. Help me, please. So
Yeah.
I use it for that a lot.
Melissa Pop of Rickety Root just, just on LinkedIn the other day. It's like, if you use it for a vetted process to discover new resources, to find data sources to support a particular argument. And that's a very rich vein for discovery of related topicality. Hard number data is at the bottom of the pile,
Yeah.
that would have been, impossible for you to divine or search out because there's no incentive, very little incentive for people to have published about it,
Hmm.
which kind of brings me to a question. It's a meta question. Do you think that Google is intentionally or unintentionally killing the internet's understood push-pull of publisher versus search engine?
Intentionally. I do. That to say, you still need to be optimizing for Google. I know that's like a
It's a pill.
double-edged sword there. But I think Google, what did they buy Reddit? They put shares in Reddit. I can't remember exactly.
There's a
I
relationship there.
really something like that. So don't quote me on that. Look it up yourself. But I remember reading that last year because I went to Possible, a great event in Miami, and the Reddit founder was there and spoke. What I think Google is doing is pushing people more towards Reddit. I don't know if you see that in search results. I think that is becoming, they want you to go to these forums, and then they also, these tools make a lot of money, right? Like a lot of money. So I think it's a combination of both. And I think they're pushing people, when you used to rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in the search results, I think they're really pushing you towards that AI overview featured snippets. They don't want people to go beyond that. And then they have their sponsored posts, right? So I think it's really a push to stay above the fold, which we've always talked about as SEO people. But I think it's a push to really fund these other type of forums, um, and chat tools, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I think, and Martin brought this up, his perspective was that, our combined perspective was, if you have a market incentive for every site to create topical content, then you end up with every plumber publishing a how to plug a leak page. And that's not that size of index, that level of information out there. At a certain level, it's not helpful because Google can't monetize on those. And so
Yeah,
the HCU was not so much saying, oh, your content is helpful to the reader or not. It was, is this helpful for our business model to make money off of search?
yeah,
Having endless duplicates and endless choices for any search vertical doesn't serve us. So we're going to refine who we reward with traffic down
Yeah.
to those that we can much better monetize. And, it makes sense what you're saying as an augment to that. Yeah, I am. See, we can confirm that Reddit is a disproportionate winner of organic traffic from Google, and it makes sense that there's an incestuous relationship there in terms of data and partnership, recursive feeding back off of each other,
Yep.
um, as well as sending to having AI overviews eat up space, having featured snippets eat up space, keeping you on the Google side so you have more chance to click. We're getting, this is what, the third lawsuit now that we're getting discovery for, and discovering even more
Is it the third?
straight.
Okay.
Yeah. I, I lose track. I keep saying,
I
oh,
can't
well,
keep up. So you have to,
the
yeah,
Google lawsuit, and like, oh, which one? Okay, well, I don't actually know which one in
yeah.
particular this time, but this time, they're kind of disclosing, these complicated relationships of monetary relationships behind the scenes. Of, we intentionally designed the page to squeeze even more margin on our PPC, and we've intentionally pushed it to the point where our feedback loops are in the red,
Hmm.
versus prior generations would never have wanted to push it that far, but they intentionally, the lawsuits are saying they intentionally are, exploiting this monopolistic relationship, and then intentionally, stealing people's content to create AI overviews and not send the traffic.
Well, and PPC, all those, that's so out of my realm now. But to your point, um, people click on Reddit, and then Reddit ads are now becoming pretty big for my clients. What kind of share? I obviously don't have insight in this, but if you click on a Reddit forum, let's say for your search query, and then they click on an ad, is there some parameter that they get clicks per referral, right? So that could be as well. Again, monetizing because they have a very big relationship that will only, I'm sure, continue to grow.
Kind of changing topic, I'm curious what your experience in specific industries and verticals has been over the past couple of years. Are there any definite trends for definite groups that diverge from the mainstream, or particular challenges that you've had to overcome?
Yeah. I think one of the main ones that I'm thinking of, that I've had this client for about a year and a half, they're an IVF clinic. And they're very unique. It's about trust. I'm sorry, you can see my cat. It's a really about trust. So I've been all, let me step back. I've been all over I've had construction, tons of e-com, like I told you, car dealerships. I have had tire dealerships. I've had the most random ones. But I have to say, the one about the IVF clinic, that has been the one that has been challenging in a good way, though. You got to get really, really niche and specific. And I noticed, like with the chat tools, they are very reluctant. It's taken them over a year to serve up my client. And I think it's because they're very weary of right, medical, and wanting to give users the right experience. And so we've had to be very intentional with our content, more so than I've ever been. Very, very specific. Like she does a lot, kind of like we've been talking about. She does a lot of publications about IVF success rates. So as she's been doing this has been helping her as well come up in the chat features, because it's
Mm.
showing she has background with these. So I want to say, kind of coming back around to what we've talked about, I think this is really good information. Like the data behind it
Mhm.
is really, really great. And that she's on board, but on the same time, she's on board and she understands she needs to give solid research. People are looking for success rates. Why her? What does she do? Busting myths. What is her care like? So it's just gotten very, very niche. And I have to say, too, I've been doing a lot of FAQs now
Yeah.
for these chat tools, which has also helped as well, getting very specific Like I use
Mm,
SEMrush for my SEO. So I look at that, but I don't just look at SEMrush. I look at people. I feel like this is somebody, we kind of got in a little argument, I would say, about this. The people also ask section. Maybe
hmm
that answer is not specifically in SEMrush or whatever SEO tool you use, but I
Yeah.
still take that and answer for that
Yeah.
because it is people also ask. But the person I was having a little disagreement with was saying, well, it's not an exact question in, she was using Ahrefs. I said, I have had other experience with that it is good. So I use a combination of what I find in SEMrush and then also for the people also ask. So
Well,
I can get really nitty gritty with this IVF client where I don't have to with, like, I have a maternity bra client.
yeah.
I can be more all over the world, right? With her, I have to be very specific because she's in San Francisco, California. So I have to be really specific with that.
Yeah. I think one of the keys, I literally just spent half an hour this morning talking to one of my clients about precast concrete walls and, how their technology, protects it against direct weapons, and EMPs,
Yeah.
because we're crafting a specific page for that. And we're like, you know what? Information online is good, but actually need to talk to the CEO, CFO, CMO and say, what would you say you do here? And he brought up so many things that, would not have been answerable, because they had to be specific. Like, what is the value proposition that you are most pitching and is most asked for? Like,
Mhm.
we can deliver these things fast to spec, adjustable in a way where if you had a poor concrete, you couldn't. Okay, that's nowhere on your site. We need to put that like everywhere. But that comes out of that genuine human conversation, which I think you can't. There is an over reliance for some SEOs, and calling myself out. There was a time where it's like, I'm doing SEO. I'm opening up Ahrefs at SEMrush, writing my thing. Okay, it's done. Never talk to the client. There was a time where I did that and I had success. You can't do that now. You cannot leave the client out of the loop. You should have never have done it, but
Mhm.
you could get away with it because, search volume was so good, your so many opportunities to get that traffic was all there. But in today's economy, one must actually talk to your freaking client.
Yeah. I actually, though, have to say I'm not worried about SEO, even in this economy, especially for good SEO. I think once you can give your value and like demystify things, I think that people do understand why it's so important. And that authenticity, as you were talking about, you're talking to that person, you're answering their questions, overcoming whatever concerns they have. So I don't see anything. I'm the first to jump ship if I see a problem. I would probably go find a corporate job again, right? But I don't see that happening at all. I'm not concerned in any way. And I get asked that constantly. Other people are having their jobs being taken over by AI. Sure, I'm sure that some people have their whole entire website optimized with AI.
Hmm
That's just it, right? Like
Yeah.
businesses probably only have an automated system and no humans to talk to, which I know a lot do. But right, like that's not the same value as talking to someone that can answer your question because you have to get so specific or they don't understand or they hang up on you, right?
Yeah.
So I look at that with SEO. You can have it, but it's not going to be good.
There was,
So,
I don't remember which SaaS it was, but they posted that they pulled the transcripts for their interface, and the word that was used the most at the start was human, human, human,
oh, I was going to
human,
say
human,
agent, agent, agent. I say agent.
capital H, human, they're hitting zero. They want to talk to a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy to me, how much resistance there is in corporate culture to shorten that loop. And I, I fight against it all the time, but I guess margins get in the way and desires of fully automated customer support resources is just so enticing. I'd, I have to, throw up my hands at some of the corporate perspective on these things.
Yeah, totally agree. And I went from agency to being the solo contributor for SEO, directly reporting the CE to my own business. So, and then when I was the solo SEO person, I was the marketing director. So I was also doing email and social, but I hated all that. I only liked SEO. But, you know, I think whenever I talk to people, I'll tell you something that I find interesting. So there's the agency, never talked to the client. Then when I reported directly to the CEOs, they never were really interested in SEO. They always wanted me to say, what is the click-through rate, open rate? How many likes did we get on a post? That stuff, which I was never interested. Now I know this is all I do, obviously. But I get on calls with clients. So they have their PPC person, their email marketing. I find that being just me in the freelance world, people really are interested. They really, sometimes my call, my part of the hour takes up 30 minutes and we still have how many other marketing arms to go through. I've seen that shift. People are really, really interested. And I think that's great. So people weren't, and now they are. I think because of AI, it's actually opened us up to more individuals wanting to learn, to understand, and see it, right? They can see the results. So I've seen that trickle, especially with my experience. Not talking a little, really interested.
It has made link building a lot easier to talk
Well,
about
that too.
because you can just short circuit and say, hey, we need to show up on other sites in order to get referenced. And that's true of Google
People are
and these
getting that.
LLM tools.
Hmm.
So you
People
can
are
short
really getting
circuit, oh, I know there's a complicated algorithm and this page rank thing, and you need this anchor text. No, say less. We need to show up elsewhere to prove that we are worthy. That's all
people
you
are
got
really
to say.
Mm-hmm. I'll do that. I'll have that a lot of calls. What other links have you? Where can else we can go? Oh, I got to hire a PR person. Can you give me what she should pitch? So I'm also, to your point, saying people are really engaged in that, as you might probably do. I do, right? This is a backlink. I've been doing links for myself for years and years and years. So
Yes. you,
people are
you
now
have to have a, yeah, you have to have a link building game because content with LLMs will only grow more commoditized unless it's personalized, as we said. But the other
interested.
side of that is the field is still wide open for you to prove yourself authenticity,
Hmm.
connection, authority flowing from other sites. You, it's not going to just, you're not going to wake up one day and just get the best link ever that boosts your rankings. It's a
No,
reflection of your marketing outreach. It's a reflection of your co-marketing. It's a reflection of your outreach. It's a reflection of your outward thinking.
completely. And you know what I also ask a lot of my clients to do, if they don't feel comfortable asking to guest blog, I guest blog a lot. I say, why don't you do like a Q&A with somebody in your industry so that you're not just pitching, oh, can I blog on your site? But can we both do a Q&A, right? And so they have their link and my client has their link. So that's been pretty successful because people, I think, are hesitant to ask, to only be, oh, I'm just trying to serve me. So I've seen that as a success
Yeah,
as well.
there's I have an old blog that I set up in like 2010 where the post was, you remember expert roundups were the
Yeah.
thing of the
Oh
day.
my gosh. I forgot about that actually.
But you can, if you do that approach, but have a final piece to it, you can actually build links because you take
Hmm.
their quote, turn it into a graphic and say, thanks so much. Here's
Yeah.
four or
And like,
five collateral pieces. Oh, by the way, you blogged about this 6 months ago. This graphic would fit there. General attribution is fine. Here's the
yes,
link. You
absolutely.
don't even have to say link. You could say just attribution and they'll get it 8 out of 10 times. You might miss
So
2 out of 10, but that's a way better hit rate than just, dear sir/madam, you have a broken link on your site and you should point it to my site instead. Like
don't even get
people
me
are,
started on that.
if people are still sending broken link outreach, it's bonkers.
I just wonder what I would be curious what their because they just probably send mass, right? For me, I'm specifically talking about I get LinkedIn DMs. I wonder how many
Yeah.
actually bite on those. Because I get, and I think it's funny. I laugh because it's obviously about SEO, and that's what I do. So they're just blanking. I mean, I wonder how many other SEO people get it. Obviously, you do, you mentioned, but I would be curious about the bite rate. I don't even know if that's a word, but how many people take the bait, I guess.
It's hard to say because scales of economy in different regions of the world, mean that, $100 win, there would be nothing in America, but somewhere in a third world, it's why we still have the Nigerian prince, scam still going strong. I,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
but it
And,
is
and
difficult. It is difficult to talk about link building even to other SEOs of like, hey, I have a link build, I do link building, or offer it as white label, and try to differentiate how you're going about it because there's been so much perfidy around, black hat link building, and since it continues to carry value, the practice will continue to be out there. So it's just kind of a difficult thing to purify the reputation for that.
the client I just got, their agency bought a bunch of bad backlinks. And I didn't actually know this. So if you know this, I guess I'm behind. I didn't know you can buy traffic to your website, and they were doing that as well.
Yeah, there's I know a growing number of tools that will fake that traffic. Of course, it's
Yeah,
like steroids, and if you stop boosting, then you're going to super tank. But
of
the the
course.
longer you the longer you do that, the more likely you are to get hit. So it's bad. It's a bad path to go down.
Yeah. I was like, we have to stop this right now. They showed me the PPC person actually showed it to me. They didn't even know that that was happening. He showed it to me. And I was like, whoa, I actually didn't know traffic was now a thing on top of links. All these scams. People don't know what to sift through. So
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's why I'm wondering how many people fall victim to it if they don't have an expert to help them understand,
which is a great tie-in segment. Tell me again about that platform that you're building. I'll make sure that it gets linked in the show notes, and shout out
Mhm.
where people can connect with you if they want more information about that, or if they want to talk to you about your services.
Sure. So, Stephanie Long. My email is Stephanie at Junction, so JUNCTIONJACK .co. Be sure, not .com. And again, it's Stephanie Long on LinkedIn, but yeah, a vetted marketplace. So you're coming there, you're going to get the right SEO expert. And that's what I want to do is I want to demystify this whole world. People are not going to be sending you like, sir, madam, can I send you link building? The quality ones you're going to find on sites that are vetted. And I do want to say about Fiverr and Upwork, because I did my research, they have a vetted section, but I went through it and it's a little tiny disclaimer at the bottom saying vetted by AI. Okay. None of mine are vetted by AI. It is me or I know them. So and these are not full-time jobs. Everyone has a job. So these are projects, one-offs. If you're looking for an audit, keyword research, that's what it is. I mean, if you do want a full-time SEO person, I don't know, maybe somebody does, but this is not a job platform in like an FTE job. This is for projects.
I love it. I think there's a niche there. So definitely add that to the show notes. And thanks so much for your time, Stephanie.
Thank you very much for having me on.